Right. Okay, let me start that again. Hello, สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome back to Bitazza Invites, the show organized by Bitazza without any special effects or any glitz or glam. We're just here to talk, no nonsense about what's happening in the crypto industry with all the key players. And as we know, now there's so many new and interesting ecosystems popping up in our industry. So it's definitely our job to get them here to talk to you guys first. So I'm very excited for the guest that we have today from Raydium, which is an automated market maker and liquidity provider built on the Solana blockchain, where you can only find listed on a platform in Thailand only at Bitazza. So I am Didi, the Chief Communications Officer at Bitazza, and besides Raydium, we also have our special guest, which I will be introducing later. So first and foremost, let me say hello to our audience who are Thai and let them know that we will be translating our session for them later. สวัสดีค่ะเพื่อนๆก็ดีดีนะคะวิมลพันธ์วิบูลย์มา Chief Communications Officer ของ Bitazza นะคะก็กลับมาพบกับเพื่อนๆอีกแล้วนะคะในรายการ Bitazza Invite ซึ่งเป็นรายการที่เราเชิญเจ้าของโปรเจกต์แล้วก็แขกรับเชิญอื่นๆที่อยู่ในเรียกว่าอุตสาหกรรมคริปโตของเรานะคะในโลกที่เปลี่ยนแปลงอย่างรวดเร็วนะคะเราก็คิดว่ามีความสำคัญมากๆที่จะเชิญแขกหลายๆคนมาคุยแล้วก็เกือบทุกท่านเรียกได้ว่ามาคุยกับเราเป็นที่แรกนะคะก็เรานั่งคุยกันสบายๆที่บ้านแบบนี้ละค่ะก็วันนี้ในเมื่อแขกของเราเป็นต่างชาติอีกเช่นเคยนะคะเหมือนเซสชันที่ผ่านมาไม่ว่าจะเป็น Axie Infinity ไม่ว่าจะเป็น Coin98 หรือว่า Ledger เองนะคะก็เดี๋ยวดีดีกับคุณอาร์ตกวินพงษ์พันเดชา CEO ของเราเนี่ยจะมา wrap up สรุปให้ทุกคนฟังอีกทีนึงนะคะไม่ต้องเป็นห่วงว่าจะเนื้อหาอันไหนจะหลุดไปเลยนะคะก็ยังไงเดี๋ยวเพื่อนๆติดตามชมภาคภาษาไทยได้พรุ่งนี้ที่นี่ที่เดิมนะคะก็วันนี้ดิมีแขกรับเชิญหลายท่านเลยนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นผู้นำcommunity Solana Thailand นะคะแล้วก็แขกรับเชิญอีก2ท่านจาก Raydium ซึ่งก็เป็น automated market maker ที่อยู่บน Solana blockchain นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นวันนี้เนี่ยเดี๋ยวยังไงเพื่อนๆติดตามภาษาอังกฤษกันก่อนแล้วก็ไปฟังภาษาไทยพรุ่งนี้ได้เลยค่ะยังไงเดี๋ยวดิขออนุญาตสวิตช์กลับไปเป็นภาษาอังกฤษก่อนนะคะ Okay, so without further ado, let me invite back my regular guest, our Chief Executive Officer and Co-founder Kavin Phongpandecha, or Art. Hi, Art.
Hi, Didi. I'm so excited to be here. So thanks for hosting this. This, it never gets old.
Thank you for being here too. Like every time we get to talk to a new project, a newly listed token on our platform, it's such an honor, and it marks such growth in our industry and just the overall ecosystems.
Yeah, I think we've seen so much growth in the crypto space, and sometimes I understand it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. So I think what we're trying to do is we try to get relevant guests who know what they're doing, true innovators in the space to come talk to the Thai community. But we also want to be very inclusive. That's why we have the Thai session that will come out after this, right? And I think I'm very excited because this will be actually the first guest from the Solana community. And I hope this will not be the last. I hope there will be more to come in the future. So yeah, can't wait.
That's right. Thank you. Okay, so let us then welcome the manager of the official Solana Thailand community. I think it's so important for crypto projects and blockchains to have the community elements to drive knowledge as well as support for each other. So here we have คุณกมลนพสหสุนทร or ตัง
ครับสวัสดีครับ Good evening everyone. Hi สวัสดีครับคุณอาร์ตสวัสดีครับคุณดี I'm very pleasure and very impressed, and I'm so excited to be here with Bitazza and as our Solana, which is an open source platform for decentralized application. And today we get to invite our Raydium, our one of the top protocol on our Solana ecosystem, which is very exciting for me.
So let me just give a short introduction of Tang here, who started out, being a huge fan of these crypto projects and, trading on Bitazza. And we just love and support our fans. And, you can see the dedication and work that goes into organizing or helping others, because that's what cryptocurrency is really about. And when you start off as a fan and now you're a community leader, and next thing you know, you're talking to the representatives from the projects themselves. So this means that there are opportunities for our industry, and it's all about inclusiveness, and it's all about just friendly talking to each other, over this webcam, and just so friendly, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Which community is very important for our cryptocurrency community, and I think our Solana ecosystem and community grow together. And as for Raydium too. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And with Tang's help, we were able to have our guest for tonight. So I'm very excited to introduce you guys to GammaRay, the co-lead of Raydium, who is here with us today, as well as InfraRay, the head of partnership, also from Raydium. Hi, InfraRay and GammaRay.
Hey, excited to be here. Thanks for having us. And really looking forward to talking with everyone and sharing a little bit more about what we are building and what we're working on.
Yep, pretty excited for this. Good to be here. And looking forward to chatting with you guys and the Thai community for sure.
Thank you so much. So before we start our discussion, because this is such a special occasion, so we had a chance to run a little campaign, because also it's about being inclusive with our audience. So we let them submit some questions that they wish to ask you guys directly. I mean, how often is it that you get to talk to the creator of the investments that you're holding? So we've actually selected these 10 questions, and we will be displaying a QR whereby this is a confirmation that you wish to confirm your participation in this campaign. And then once you hear your questions, it will be a confirmation that you are one of the selected winners. So don't forget to share this video. Also, if you didn't participate, share the video anyway, because information is so important. It's rewarding in itself. So don't forget to share the video as well as scan the QR code, complete the form. So let me just reiterate this in Thai for the people who are watching. เพื่อนๆที่ส่งคำถามมานะคะก็อย่าลืมแชร์วิดีโออันนี้นะคะแล้วก็สแกน QR ท็อปตรงที่มุมบนขวานี้นะคะเพื่อที่จะคอนเฟิร์มว่าทุกคนมาร่วมสนุกกับเราจริงๆแล้วก็อย่าลืมตามสเต็ปทั้งหลายโอเคก็คือ1แชร์2สแกนอันนี้แล้วก็ complete แล้วก็อย่าลืมไปตาม community ของ Raydium แล้วก็ Solana ด้วยนะโอเคขอบคุณมากเลยค่ะ alright okay so let's get started.
Yeah, so I think this is the first time we actually are talking to anonymous devs. So I guess could you explain what your background is without doxing yourself, but basically just give us a little picture of what you've been doing prior to Raydium and why you decided to jump into Raydium.
Yeah, for sure. So this is GammaRay. You guys can just call me Gamma. So before Raydium, before the beginning of this year, when we really got up and running, right? I spent several years at a data analytics and market research firm. So working with clients, looking over, a lot of market data, giving them recommendations and kind of understanding like how they approach different markets and their users, their consumers. And then I would say 2 or 3 years ago, really started to kind of get into or learn about crypto. Another one of our team members, Alpha, who's not here at the moment, but he also leads our team. I was pretty good friends with him, and he's quite deep into the quant trading and market making space. So we would always chat on these subjects. I started really to dive in head first, get into like technical analysis, discretionary trading, and then as well as getting into kind of like the fundamentals of what a lot of projects were doing, and so this really caught my interest, and just kept kind of working and chatting with Alpha over the years, and then we just kept chatting, and eventually this opportunity kind of we saw a chance to kind of build out an AMM that really connected with an order book. So coming from a background of trading and technical analysis, we saw Uniswap, we saw Sushi, and your AMMs with general liquidity pool is great for those users that want to swap and get out quickly. But having all that liquidity on the order book was just, it seemed like the next step, like the next level to really take it. So yeah, I kind of joined up with him, and he has a team as well, and we kind of joined up, and then Raydium kind of got kicked off from there, turned it into a real project, a brand, and a platform where users could really get started and then hop into the Solana ecosystem.
And I'll piggyback off of Gamma here. So, I started my career at a think tank before moving over to big tech and mobile gaming. While doing that, was really focused on overseas market expansion and kind of competitor analysis, but also looking to see how we could adjust our products to different regions in the world based off of different user preferences, and then also really drive that monetization strategy and get an ROI on our games, based off of what other people were doing. Similar to Gamma as well, I started, first playing around in crypto a couple of years ago, getting into DeFi, and I was, maybe most excited about the community behind all these things, where, there's this really a sense of family when you're kind of in these different groups, whether it's Discord or Telegram, and you're learning, what everyone else is doing. You're learning from their experience. But when I was getting started, especially on Ethereum, fees were so high, and it was really a big barrier of entry. And was introduced to Solana, was introduced to Raydium, and it was really kind of when playing around with the product and seeing, the speed, but also the affordability, and everything that could be done on the platform, where I realized, how big this could really become. And so, yeah, joined the team and haven't looked back. Been loving it so far.
Sweet. And Dang, would you like to introduce yourself again? Because this is the first time you appear here. Maybe tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in the Solana community.
Okay, greetings, everyone. I'm Tang from Solana Thai community, which I'm a manager currently. I've been trading and learning about crypto about 1 year ago. I have been studying very hard, from reading documents, searching in YouTube, and trading myself, which I think, as for cryptocurrency, you have to learn about fundamental, which is I try to search for gems, which is I found Solana. It found to be as as InfraRay has mentioned that Solana blockchain, including fast transaction speed, is an open source platform for many decentralized applications. And I learned that Solana found to be good platform for many decentralized and able to apply for the real world use. So I sought out about learning about Solana, what is protocol that running on Solana, and found Raydium, which is quite interesting me. So first I found that during January, February, there isn't any community that talking about Solana. So I create one, and I start to give information, posting YouTube video, translating document for beginner to learn about our Solana ecosystem.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. It's great to know that, we all come from, just trying to learn about different projects. And here we are talking about Solana. I think one of the key questions that I have been having, about Solana is that when you talk about AMMs, we normally think about, smart contracts based AMM, which, similar to Sushi Swap, Uniswap, which is very simple. It's a very simple algorithm where you just like input stuff in it, and then you're trading against the smart contract essentially, right? But my question would then be to Gamma and Infra, like you guys are connecting that AMM model to a central limit order book or a club, and how does that actually work in practice? Is it also unique to Solana just because of the speed and what that allows? And how do you envision yourself to be different? Like, how do you differentiate yourself from other AMMs, and how does Solana help you achieve that?
Okay, I think we're good. All right, yeah, definitely. So Solana is a big part of this, right? So I briefly went over it in the introduction, but yeah, as you mentioned, like a standard AMM, like liquidity pool, you have two tokens and they keep a base price, and you just trade against the tokens in those pools, right? But yeah, what we really wanted to do, and what we saw the opportunity with Solana, was that the speed, the transaction throughput, and the low gas fees of Solana really allowed for interacting and creating a central limit order book, right? And that's what we got excited about when we saw Serum come out, right? So when we saw this on-chain order book, right, this was kind of something that we were waiting for. That I think, like a lot of traders, right, a lot of full-time traders and people doing technical analysis and trading with an order book were really waiting for something non-custodial that they could use. And then, yeah, coming from like the DeFi summer of last year, we really saw that opportunity to take the liquidity from a standard AMM pool, and then allow that to be swapped as it is in a Uniswap or a Sushi, but also leverage that liquidity and really create a market on an order book where there wasn't one before, right? So yeah, that's just like a huge advantage of Solana, and then that Serum was able to follow up and execute to actually create that base layer. And then Raydium, we saw that as the key opportunity there. So yeah, and then like just in terms of the order book, like for Ethereum and some other chains, basically like the amount of throughput and transactions that are needed to have all of that done and completed on the order book, it's difficult to do on an Ethereum with transactions at such a high cost, right? And at a slower rate. So yeah, definitely that's one of the reasons why we turned to Solana and Serum.
Right. I also remember there was some like debate on Twitter that people are talking about the difference between an AMM and a clock based like market making, that it's very hard. Like how do you as a retail compete with like traditional market makers with a lot of expertise? What's your view on that basically? Like do you think there's room, and also like how does this evolve like in the next 3 to 5 years? How does this model, like do you think the world is still going to be based on AMM, or do you think more trading will be happening on the central limit order book going forward?
I'd say that I think there's space for both, right? And I mean that plays to Raydium's advantage, but I don't just say that because we're like the Raydium platform is potentially benefiting from that. I think that there are different types of crypto users, right? There's different types of users. There's retail that wants to come. They want to, quickly research a few projects. They want to invest, and it makes sense for them to come in and quickly swap and have an avenue where they can quickly get a hold of those tokens in a no nonsense manner. They don't have to, do anything too complicated. They don't have to learn too much about technical analysis or order books, which are a little bit higher level, a little bit more sophisticated. I think that serves a big purpose in the space, right? I mean, we can see that like Uniswap, right? Like it's just bigger than anybody could have ever imagined, right? And there's plenty of sophisticated users that go to Uniswap. They know what they want to, they know the tokens, they know the projects that they want exposure to, and they're happy to get involved that way. And at the same time, or on the other end, there are users, there are traders that are very focused on planning their entries, planning their exits, and so I think there's definitely space for both. There are two different mindsets. One is maybe getting into a project, holding it for a longer term, maybe more focused on the fundamentals, and then there's more of a trading mindset potentially, where you're looking for the most bullish projects, the most bullish coins for today or within the next week, and you want to have those advanced trading features. You want to be able to set limit orders. You want to get in on the price that you want in. You want to get out at the price that you want to get out. So I think both of these things coexist, right? And the fact that the liquidity from the LPs, the liquidity pool is going to be leveraged in both places. This is kind of where we found a sweet spot, where we found an advantage.
Yeah, I think it's this is Infra here. I think it's important to kind of remember that as a retail user, while market making might be difficult for you to do yourself, but when you do provide liquidity on a Raydium pool, you are essentially market making, right? The AMM does interact with the order book. We currently do around 60% of Serum's maker volume, and so with your liquidity sitting there, you are actively doing that, and it adds another whole other level of capital efficiency when compared to other AMMs, because it's being traded more actively, and that's reflected in trading fees. So that's something that we've definitely gotten a lot of positive feedback from for our users.
And then a third piece of the puzzle then too is the projects that we've been working with. So the other Solana projects, as well as maybe even some ERC20 projects that have bridged over some of their tokens, they can create a pool, or we can help them create that pool, and then the AMM is automatically creating a market for them, right? Whereas, if you're going to a centralized exchange or anywhere else with a market book, but primarily a centralized exchange, you're using market making services from the exchange or from other big name market makers. That's potentially another expense. It's potentially another headache to be working with a third party. Well, there are also advantages. Market makers have their own advantages as well, but a small team that have just gotten their token off the ground, that have just IDO'd, all they need to do is create a pool on Raydium, and on Serum that market is being made, right? So that's a big advantage there, and immediately their community can come in and trade that. They can trade it on the book, they can trade it on Raydium and through the pool. But that's another big use case, right? Kind of as a service provider almost, or a market making solution for some of these new projects that are really just getting off the ground.
Right. So I think you guys mentioned trying to get new projects off the ground. So I know you guys are doing the accelerator and you have a lot of projects there. So what kinds of projects or traction do you see in Solana? Because one of the themes that we talk about in the show is that during DeFi summer of 2020, there's a lot of people getting into crypto for the first time in DeFi, right? And that led to gas price spiking on Ethereum. What ended up happening was a lot of people just adopted EVM compatible blockchains like the Binance Smart Chain or whatever chains, right? And that led to a proliferation of projects on those chains. But Solana is a little different because you guys are not EVM compatible, and all the tooling, all the libraries that you have to kind of create from scratch. So my question is, what's your experience building on a completely new ecosystem and trying to be the pioneer and trying to push the development forward without a lot of the support that you normally would have in a different chain?
Yeah, so it hasn't been easy, especially if you think back. I mean, it seems like a long time, right? But Raydium launched in February of this year, right? So 8 months ago, something like this. So and when we launched, there was just a few projects on Solana. There was Serum primarily. There was we were the first AMM essentially to pop up. Serum had some liquidity pools, some AMM pools, but like a strictly AMM platform, like we were the first to kind of come up. And yeah, it was difficult. So we're not like super technical members of the team, but yeah, the team here was building on Solana for the first time and building out a lot of these features, when there was nothing else to go on. Nothing is open. I mean, nothing really open source that we could go off of, especially because the pools that we're building were meant to interact with the order book. So there wasn't we couldn't fork Uniswap and just go from there. And both from Solidity, forking Solidity wouldn't work. And also there wasn't a program built out that would interact with the order book. So yeah, there were a lot of speed bumps, a lot of back and forth with the Solana team. The Solana team, we have a great relationship with them. They help us out a lot. We're in constant contact with the team there, a lot of the devs there, and it was kind of like we work kind of as one team with a lot of the Solana and the Serum guys, kind of working through problems that we run into, bouncing ideas off of them, seeing if they could help us when we get stuck. We would run into a bunch of problems, get stuck, ping the Solana guys, they would ping the Serum guys, go back and forth and kind of get over those humps. So definitely a lot of growing pains. There was also, so now I think, there's the Anchor protocol that kind of has a lot of base cases that teams can use when first building out on Solana, but that wasn't around. So yeah, all of the code was basically coming from scratch. So it was tough. And we're still trying to do a lot of things and put out a lot of features that aren't out yet, right? So we're still running into these challenges, but it's fun at the same time, right? Kind of like treading your own path and seeing what comes of it. But yeah, being in close contact with the Solana and the Serum guys is huge.
Right. I think it's also very interesting. Like you guys actually get to build from scratch. So maybe sometimes you get new insights from what you normally wouldn't get building on top of whatever is already built, right? Yeah. But I mean, despite all that. Oh, sorry, you're saying something?
Sorry, from there's many people in our community talking about like our Solana chain have to be in rush development. So there are many people from Solidity that want to come and want to find a way to educate themselves, find help from the past, like such as Raydium? Are there any help or anything they can seek out
Yeah.
for
So I mean,
building?
Yeah. So I mean, this is another challenge too, right? I mean, you can't just go grab some guys that have been building on Ethereum and Solidity, right? You have to find talented devs that probably have no exposure or very little exposure to Rust. And then there's a ramping up period, right? You know, work with the guys, the devs on the team to kind of help them through the initial stages of it before can really get working and contribute effectively. But like what we've seen is that you're still looking for the best devs that you can find, right? And the talented guys are going to be able to pick up those languages, pick up Rust, and still make amazing things happen, right? It just takes everybody's just has a bit of a runway before everything can kind of get up and running.
But yeah, to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, in terms of resources available, Solana is now dedicating a ton of time to kind of educating the next generation of programmers. And so for anyone who's interested, Solana TV is doing like a series of different Rust development tips. They have a couple different kind of learning programs as well, boot camps that you can go through. And then they just launched the third hackathon. And so that's to kind of encourage new projects to come to the space. And there's a lot of rewards and support there for that as well. So Solana is definitely putting a lot of time and effort behind education, and there's a ton of resources out there. So anyone who's looking to learn and build, there to be found. And yeah, we encourage you to do it.
Mm-hmm. And what would be like the application process to get on the accelerator, for example? I know like there's a lot of builders who are looking to build, but like how do they get in touch and get their projects listed?
Yeah, so the accelerator, right? We're not talking about the hackathon, yeah? Just to confirm.
Yeah. Or you can talk about the hackathon too, that's fine, yeah.
No, either way. No, well, I'll go from one to the other. It's kind of a logical progression, right? So yeah, what Infra was just talking about, I mean, that's a huge other benefit that the entire ecosystem has is the Solana Foundation really pushing these hackathons, right? And getting together grants for some of the top teams, giving them advice and assistance, and grabbing advisors from a lot of the top projects to really help a lot of these new teams that are just kind of getting off the ground to really get something started and on the right path. So yeah, we actually took part in the previous hackathon, and it was really just pretty awesome to see and talk to a lot of the teams. They're all coming up with new ideas. There's a lot of primitives on Solana that aren't built out yet. Like just for an example, like the last hackathon, we saw several projects coming out with like borrow lending platforms, and chatting with them, each with kind of like their own spin on it. And as these progress, a lot of the good teams will capture some grants, both from Solana, and Raydium gave out a grant as well for the previous hackathon, and we have one running for this current hackathon. So once that's over, and all of the advisors and the judges kind of have a chance to look over the projects, you get you get a good outlook into like the newest projects that are coming up, and a lot of those are the ones that we kind of scout for Accelerator, right? So we'll already have chatted with some of these teams, potentially during the hackathon while it was going on, and offer them advice, and we kind of know where they need help, and we know what their strong points are, and this is a good way to kind of get started and for a project to kind of get into Raydium sites for Accelerator. That's one good way. I mean, another is just, even if you're not in hackathon, just build something awesome, right? Build something that is building value for the entire ecosystem, and that everybody can see that it's going to fit in and potentially maybe be one of those primitives that other people are going to want to build on top of, offer something new, something innovative, and whether that's in the DeFi space, NFT space, and then you can reach out to us. We have a form on our site that you can apply. A lot of these teams will already be in contact with Solana, so reach out to Solana for help. They're huge. They really offer teams and projects a lot of assistance while they're building. And then basically we chat with the team, because one of the biggest things is the team, right? If you've got a great idea, but the team can't really buckle down and build it and make it happen, you're not going to get anywhere. So we spend a lot of time talking with teams, talking with founders, talking with the devs. And then, we kind of see if we think it's something that will work on Accelerator. And we kind of go from there, and make sure that the marketing is aligned, that these teams have been able to build a strong community, which is it's hugely important in this space to have a strong community, a group of early users that are really behind your project, that want to use it, that want to get their hands on the token, and want to really help the entire community and the project move forward. So these are there's no easy answer, but these things all are pieces to the puzzle, right?
Yeah, as you have mentioned about ignition or hackathon, our Solana official also include the reward for many project, the new project for our Solana ecosystem. There you can submit until 15 October for this season. Yeah, I will post the description and the link here under the post here if you interest any developer.
Awesome. So I think it's very exciting what's going on, and the amount of activity that we're seeing. So we talk a lot about the ecosystem, the AMM, the club, the accelerator and all that, but we haven't really talked about the Ray token. So maybe can we talk a little bit about that? Like, what does the Ray token do?
Actually, I was going to suggest, sorry, but I was because we are halfway into our session, and I actually saw one of the questions submitted by our selected winner. So actually, precisely that question. So let me go into the first question from Kun Natchapon Mekhalai. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. So I'm going to translate the question into English for you. So Kun Natchapon asked, what are some of the upcoming projects that will be driven by the Ray token? I see that Star Atlas launched on Accelerator. What other DeFi gaming projects can you guys talk about coming out of the Raydium launchpad? Or also going back to the question that I asked just now about the Ray token itself as well.
Okay, so just to clarify, the question is basically what other gaming projects we're working with, or sorry?
Or just any upcoming projects in general, but there's Star Atlas, which is one of the things that the person is making a reference to because he's familiar with it. So whether gaming or any other projects.
Yes, so we're seeing a ton of gaming show up in Solana, and I think a big part of that as well is accessibility, speed, and fees being really the strong suit there. And so projects in GameFi, they can build a completely different product on Solana than they could on a different platform. And so, this in the next couple of months, there'll be Cryo War, there'll be DeFi Land. There'll be a couple different projects who are looking to open up with an open beta or an alpha for people to come and use it, and then kind of integrate that GameFi component as well. Aurori is a big one as well from the NFT space. They're going to be building out an RPG game. And so I think right now, gaming, GameFi, and crypto is huge. The play to earn mechanism as well is attracting people all over the world, and so we are looking at a ton of projects. Hopefully to launch them on Accelerator, and help them, with those early stages, and kind of playing into then Art's question as well, and that's like the Ray token. And its utility, what you can do with it. And so I think, we can expand on this on a couple of different fronts, but directly related to what we were just talking about in the accelerator itself is that by buying and owning Ray and staking it on our platform, you're eligible to participate in the accelerator. And so, every couple of weeks, we launch a new project. If you have Ray staked for a certain amount of time, you can get, a certain amount of tickets. And then those tickets are entered in a lottery, and you can, have access to that public sale price, and participate in an IDO. GammaRay can elaborate a little bit more on kind of our other future plans for Ray utility, but that's definitely a big one right now, and that ties in a little bit with what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'd say I would just add on to that, like, yeah, this is just from a personal standpoint, but just the essentially what Solana kind of offers these games is pretty incredible. And from my point of view, there's a huge amount of people that are in crypto already, that are kind of, this crypto native crowd. They're either traders or, they are developers, or they see crypto just kind of as the next technology that is really driving things forward. But there's a whole nother part of like retail users, and we're starting to see them really come on board with just NFTs in general, right? We're seeing people come in and grab their first NFTs and trying to mint their first NFTs, and these are people that were never involved in crypto before. So this is like massively exciting, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about NFTs in a little bit. But basically, you have this group of of users that are coming in. They might be gamers, they might be artists, but they're from a little bit of a different background, right, than your average crypto user, and NFTs are kind of bringing them in now. So, and what I see is the transition there is that once these games really start picking up, like whether it be Star Atlas or Defiland or Aurora as mentioned, or we all know what happened with Axie Infinity, right? But as these really start to pick up, we're going to get even that whole NFT crowd that are just joining now, as well as like another crowd of gamers, and retail users is going to join, kind of like the metaverse, shall we say, or kind of become associated with crypto and NFTs. And as these NFTs, are worked into these games, it's really going to be pretty powerful. People are going to start playing these games. As of right now, there's not really like you couldn't say that there's like a real AAA game that's really attracting people yet. We can all speculate on what the first one will be, but when that happens, it's going to be, I think it's going to be crazy. I think everybody who's a gamer is going to be playing that game, and then they're going to connect to that metaverse, and they're going to get involved with the NFTs, and this is just it's going to spiral, it's going to snowball, and we're just going to see everybody kind of get involved, I think. And it's just going to expand from there. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. And just from a Raydium standpoint, like, we're always watching the space. We didn't intend to kind of get involved with NFTs originally. And then we were just watching, and like everybody here on the team kind of got excited about it. And we just made a decision that we were going to get involved, and kind of kick off like the drop zone, start talking to NFT projects, and spiral there, right? So back to just the general gamify topic, like I think we're obviously going to be watching the space, and if we think that it's something that there's an opportunity to get involved, and that our users will benefit from, that our holders are excited about, then we'll definitely move that way.
Actually, on that note, let us congratulate you on the partnership with Magic Eden as well. Yeah, so we just
Thanks.
saw that announcement today, so congrats. Very exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Could you explain about your collaboration?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that we actually had this meeting booked an hour early, and then we didn't have the announcement yet, and we were a little bit upset because we didn't get the announcement out before we were gonna chat, and then we saw that we had the time an hour early, so we shot out the announcement, and yeah, we're excited that we can talk about it.
Yeah, and I think so. NFTs on Solana have taken the ecosystem by storm, and we're seeing a ton of growth just from a project user from not only just projects but user standpoint as well, and then marketplaces. And Magic Eden really differentiates themselves from other marketplaces in terms of how quickly they can build and push out new features and new products themselves, and being able to kind of automate this process and really build for the future. And they're able to confirm NFT authenticity when a new project's listed within 10 minutes. They do this all on chain. It's all automated. They also have their own minting feature. They have bidding already on the platform, and they're the first to really be able to pull any of these things into their marketplace. And so our partnership, from our standpoint, is we really want to give Raydium users an opportunity to buy NFTs within our own platform. And so we'll be hosting a Magic Eden NFT marketplace on Raydium directly. And then Magic Eden, in turn, will also have incorporate the Raydium swap feature. So any user who's maybe new to Solana, they might come on with one Sol to kind of play around with, and then load up a ton of USDC, or they might have a lot of Ray, or they might have a lot of another project token. And so directly on Magic Eden's page, they can take that token and they can swap it for Sol and then buy the NFT they want, all in one streamless kind of user flow. And so we're really excited to see how that plays out. We also hope that by partnering with someone, we can really increase the amount of liquidity and then demand as well for NFTs in the space. And so it's brand new, and we're really excited to see how they keep developing, what they keep building, and and what's in store.
Awesome. I think that's a lot of questions. I'm just going through the questions, and that pretty much answered a lot of the questions.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. But a lot of people are really asking about the NFT space and metaverse, so I think there's definitely a lot of interest there. And people, I think that's one of the ways that maybe you can also even differentiate yourself, because one of the questions from the Solana community is asking, how does Ray differentiate itself from the multitude of DEXs out there? So basically, how do you plan to promote different products, and how do you sustain the growth? I think NFT is one thing that you just answered, but if you have anything else to answer, that would be great as well.
Well, a lot of this also kind of depends on how Solana grows itself. And so 4 months ago there weren't any borrow lending platforms, and now the last month and a half we've seen 4 or 5 different borrow lending platforms develop. We've seen yield aggregators come out. We're seeing all these different kind of supplementary products, and that helps the ecosystem as a whole, but that also helps holders of all these different projects and products. And so you might be a Ray holder, and you might determine that you get more utility by lending it to someone else on Solend or Sol Farm, or or Port, or anyone else, Apricot for that matter. And then and so it kind of a little bit depends on how the space itself grows, but we view the last 6 months as maybe being phase 1 of Raydium, really getting the AMM dialed down. We have a couple more features we want to roll out for stable swaps, but also routing as well, so you can swap between any of our pools seamlessly. We hope to get those out, in the immediate future in the next couple of days, weeks, if not days. And so, as we kind of wrap up the AMM and make sure that that's, kind of the top of the line product, we'll start kind of looking into seeing how we can foray into these other kind of product lines and continue to help the ecosystem evolve.
Right. Talking about product lines, one of the questions. Oh yeah, if you have anything else to say.
Well, what you were about to go into might be relevant, so maybe go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, because
we need to shout out to also our communities.
Yeah. I mean, one user, Kun Paul, is asking, obviously you're trying to add a lot of features, and and there's a lot of development in the derivative space, perpetual swaps, DYDX, we see that per protocol. So does Raydium, have eyes on this leverage futures product on Raydium in order to replace centralized exchanges? Or, is that something that you're still considering, or you have any plans for that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we've considered and that we're thinking about. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to tackle. So I think, everything, borrow lending, futures, options, derivatives are obviously all things that we're thinking about. And with, a lot of the team with trading and market making backgrounds, these are all things that we're considering. I think at the moment, we see a lot of projects that are really zeroing in on like one of these things, right? So we've got a lot of people trying to tackle options, Zeta, Hero Network, Psi options, right? And we've got, different teams doing leverage trading and futures, and everybody knows Mango, and Bonfita has come out with something. And at the moment, we're kind of linking back to what I was kind of going to say previously, was that as far as like product lines, the way we kind of think about this, and it's not that necessarily we started with this strategy, but we kind of picked it up as kind of the role for our team and for Raydium, being as we were one of the first projects to kind of build out on Solana, is that we launched and we wanted to be the place to go to trade, to be the key AMM on Solana. And what we noticed pretty quickly after launching was that there were a lot of projects that had a massive need just to launch, to IDO and get their token out, right? And there were a few launch pads that were kind of being built out. Some of those are out now, like Solanium, they're doing well. But at the time, there just wasn't much there, right? And we kind of figured like, look, there's a couple things that need to happen for Raydium to succeed. One, Solana needs to succeed, and we need projects to succeed on Solana. We need, if we're going to be the key place to go to trade on Solana, there's got to be projects and tokens to trade, right? So Accelerator kind of came from that, right? We were sitting down, we're thinking, okay, how do we get more of these guys to launch, to IDO, to raise capital and get their token out there? And then so we built Accelerator, right? And I think with some of these other protocols that are coming up, we've kind of taken a similar approach for the time being, right? Like we've talked to a lot of these platforms that are building options, that are building futures, that are building trying to go for derivatives platforms and these types of things. And I think for right now, we're kind of focusing on helping these guys really get things done, giving them advice on their launches, on their IDOs, with a lot of the team with market making background and quant trading background. We can actually help them on some of the technicals. But if a lot of these guys succeed and everybody wants their tokens and they're coming to Raydium to get those tokens and to trade those tokens, that's a good place for us to be at the moment. That doesn't mean that we're not going to tackle these in the future, but we've got a lot on our plate. With Accelerator, with the NFT things that we're doing, the AMM itself, and the swap and our trading GUI for Serum. there's still a lot of work to do there. So that's kind of like where we're focused for, you know, the next, let's just say 6 months, something like that. But things move fast in the thing. Everybody knows things move fast in crypto. So yeah, we see an opportunity. It's something that we're definitely interested in, and you know, it's a direction that we may go.
Yeah, I mean, considering you guys have been operating for like just only 8-9 months, so it's gonna be exciting to see what happens in the next 6. Exactly as you guys said, like things move fast.
It's exciting / scary, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's everything move fast. And another question from our community is that is Raydium planning on evolving or developing like services that are independent from our Solana ecosystem, like cross chain or provide liquidity?
Okay, so if we're talking cross chain and features there, so I think one of the things that we've been waiting for the past several months and that finally has arrived is Wormhole, and like a solid non-custodial bridge that we can use to bring on, you know, even liquidity for ERC20 or other EVM chains to bring it to Solana. And so we're just now kind of, well, everybody in the space is now excited to have something here, right? And I think again, like one of our focuses is going to be chatting with projects that are potentially on Ethereum. We've chatted with a number of projects that are basically shifting over to Solana, and they're looking at ways to kind of build liquidity here, whether that's wrap tokens or essentially moving everything and all their dev work and everything over to Solana and putting out potentially a native SPL token and retiring an ERC20. But we think there's a lot to do here to get like everybody who's involved on Solana and to get ERC20 liquidity here. And we think a lot of those projects will do some of that cross-chain work. But at the same time, like, yeah, for people that are wanting to trade those tokens, you know, there's the option of, you know, working a bridge into the UI, making cross-chain swaps a reality. These are all kind of features and things that we're considering. You know, we've chatted with the Wormhole team, we've chatted with a couple bridge teams, and again, also not an easy task to make it go smoothly and make sure all the pieces fall in place. But yeah, definitely, I think the future is cross chain, and we're going to see how that works.
Right, definitely. I think that's very exciting to have, you know, this multi-chain future and, you know, all the chains working together to support you know, each other basically. So I guess that provides a very good segue to the next question that Kun Ratanan, you know, asked, which is more about DeFi or blockchain people coming together to disrupt the traditional finance. So basically, what is your opinion on the belief that DeFi products and services will eventually replace traditional banking?
That's quite a tough question.
Do you think that DeFi alone is enough to totally replace traditional banking, or do you think there's a room for, you know, coexistence in some way? You know, CDFI is something that people talk about a lot. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is that it's a long way off, so it's kind of hard to predict these things, right? Anything in crypto, like if you would have asked me 6 months, like what is Raydium going to look like in 6 months? Well, you guys are asking me right now, what is Raydium going to look like in 6 months, basically, right? So it's pretty hard to predict these things. One thing I would say though is that like DeFi it's not going away. It's not going to go away, and it's at the speed at which it's developing, at the speed at which new users are onboarding, people that have never had a wallet before, that are opening new wallets and getting involved. and seeing the opportunity that's there, there's going to be teams that try to capture that opportunity and continue building. So in terms of will it overtake the traditional system, you're always going to need to pull out some money to go and buy a sandwich down the street from a shop that maybe doesn't have a crypto wallet, right? So I think for the foreseeable future, that will still be there. Is it possible? I'm not going to say it's impossible. I think anything is possible, but I think it's hard to say that it's going to necessarily overtake it completely. But back to the key point is I don't think it's going away. I think it's going to evolve, and things are going to happen that nobody will see happening, and it's going to continue to go like that. And we're kind of just excited to see where it goes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the things that we normally look at in terms of adoption of DeFi or adoption of blockchain is TVL, total value locked. And I looked at the chart that shows the TVL of Raydium and Solana ecosystem as a whole. It's actually grown quite a bit. Like you guys are now at I think $1.6 billion, right, in TVL, which is
Something
significant.
like that,
yeah, compared to like at the beginning of the year. So I guess like what are like one question from the the community is that how do you plan on increasing TVL? Like what are some concrete plans or strategies that you wish to deploy in order to attract more capital, because there's so much capital out there, and it's basically just competing within the chain. We have this multi-chain world. The majority of the TVL is still on Ethereum. You mentioned wormhole, right, to attract different projects over.
Yeah.
But like, are there like liquidity mining incentives, or like what are the plans that you try to attract and also retain the TVL on Raydium and Solana?
Well, I think this is, there's a lot of different components of this, and Solana is still relatively young, and so there's just not as many trading pairs as there are on Ethereum. And so as the ecosystem continues to grow, there's more projects, there's more teams out there, there's also more tokens, and as there's more tokens, there's more trading pairs, and that is a huge boost for TVL. And so, every time we have an accelerator launch, that's a whole nother pair, or sometimes two, sometimes three, or in Starouts' case, 4 pairs that come to Raydium and that people can trade with. They can, stake their LP tokens, and that, that number kind of ticks up. Liquidity farming, or yield farming rather, in itself is not kind of like the end all be all solution. And so from a development standpoint, it's something we talk about a lot is, what can we do to drive like long-term growth, and kind of transition away from that model. But I don't think that, the Solana ecosystem is really quite there yet. But we're also looking for ecosystem support. So, it's not necessarily Raydium providing, yield farming rewards, but it's other projects as well. And thinking about how our fusion pools or our dual yield pools will continue to develop in the future. And then also, how we'll continue to build that relationship with Serum too.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I would say one other thing is kind of like right now, building liquidity, yield farming this is the key strategy, right? But tokens are finite, and for every project, it can't go on forever, right? And also, the more projects you have, the more supply you have, and it's increasing exponentially at the moment, right? So you can foresee a couple different situations where one, a specific project runs out of tokens, or two, where the whole space has essentially like such supply of tokens that it's just less valuable to do yield farming, right? Every new project that launches, they'll get their 15 minutes of fame, their time in the limelight, where the yield farming is hot and everybody wants to get in, but eventually like you have to rely on something, right? And I mean, the easy answer here is that you just build an amazing product that everybody wants to that everybody wants to use. If you pull away all of the all of the Ray rewards, the Ray emissions from Raydium, we hope that people will still want to swap, that people will still want to use and trade on an order book on the Serum GUI, right? We hope that the user experience, we're working hard to to improve the user experience. When we first launched, like, speed was really important. Being first to market was really important. Now that we've kind of, fingers crossed that we've kind of established a solid user base and a good community, we're really trying to focus on leveling up the UI and just making it something that people want to use, right? So I think that having an awesome product is always going to be valuable, right? And then in terms of attracting liquidity, like, now we're just kind of like, and we've thought about this, right? Like, what happens after yield farming? Not really sure. Like, what do you do after yield farming kind of fades away? Or it may never fade away, but maybe there's something new, and it's just, it is really hard to see. It's exciting to think that there's something else out there besides yield farming that's going to get everybody excited and DeFi after this. It's tough to do, but for now, the plan the plan is to kind of use yield farming and APRs to really build a base, and then use that base to go from there and just continue building out an amazing product and something that is just useful for everybody, and that creates value for everybody. Yeah. Besides that, Binance launched SPL USDC and USDT today, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
How about bringing more liquidity in? That's on a more immediate level, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think exchanges will also play some role in terms of like bridging different chains. I know there's some like decentralized bridges, but like we're starting to see like centralized bridges trying to connect all the pieces together, right? I guess another thing that we haven't really talked about is like the risk of developing on a new platform. One user talked about like the recent network crash on Solana and how did that impact Raydium. Also in terms of Raydium's plan on preventing or dealing with a similar incident in the future, for example, and also if I would just add on, we have smart contract hacks going on Ethereum and all the different big chains, and we also have audit services, smart contract audits on known code. But like building on Solana is completely different. Like I would imagine getting the smart contract audit will be much different, and the number of firms that are experts in this is probably less, right? So how do you mitigate these risks in building on Solana?
Yeah, just on a basic overview. We are in the process of a security audit with Kudelski Security for like a full audit of the programs / smart contracts. But like one thing that we've found to be potentially more important or as important is working with a team of developers that are very well versed in Rust, building in Rust, and are kind of white hat hackers, basically, right? Rather than scouring all of the code, they're looking for vulnerabilities, and we've been working with a team called Neodyme, and they're they're very close ties to Solana. And these guys have helped us to kind of go through the code, look for vulnerabilities, as I said, and communicate closely with us to ensure that we have everything covered. And this is kind of like one of the key ways that we're handling it right now. Of course, we have our own team that's reviewing, every couple of weeks, reviewing whenever we put out something new. Reviewing, we have Solana run over it. We have these white hat hackers and team of security experts kind of run over things, right? So this is what you can do. Security is like of the utmost importance to us. Solana has been, the general ecosystem has been fairly lucky at this point not to have run into some of the things that you see on, say, BSC, etc. I think one of the key reasons is, I mean, I don't want to talk down about BSC necessarily, but a lot of those projects are, forking each other's code and putting things out without putting too much due diligence into what they've actually forked, right? So the vulnerabilities that exist in one exist in everything that's forked from it, right? Whereas I think that a lot of the teams that are building on Solana, which is really cool, is that everybody is, I mean, we've talked to a lot of teams and they're all like very focused on their project, very focused on building something innovative, very focused on building something that is going to be long lasting and valuable for the ecosystem. And teams that have this mindset are just much more careful and diligent about scouring over their code, and not just them, but they're much more diligent about like bringing in other teams and people that they trust to check it and ensure that it's secure as well. So this is kind of like how we're thinking about it. But there is, you can't deny that there are risks. There will always be risks, and all you can do is really double down and do your best to kind of cover all of the bases.
Right. It's great. I think also like the number of developers that are coming to Solana are like very diverse, because I've had a chat with some developers, and apparently nowadays everyone, they go to college, they learn Rust as well, and so it's becoming more and more popular. And so I was just wondering, like, what kinds of developers are you seeing entering the space? Are there a lot of them? Do they have background in Solidity, or like are they coming from all over the place?
To be honest here, like a lot of the developers on our team, some of them were building in Solidity. Some of them have, some experience building smart contracts on Ethereum, even a little bit of BSC experience. But our key team members here, they picked up Rust after they were like part of the team, right? And before a lot of the key programs, the smart contracts were built out for Raydium's actual AMM, the team spent like several months really like bunkering down and learning everything they could in Rust before really building things out, right? And again, I already mentioned it, but linking back with the Solana team to get tips and places where they get stuck, but really trying to pick up a lot of those skills while we're building. That's kind of what we're seeing. It's a little bit tough. I mean, like a lot of the guys that are experienced in Rust are not a lot of places to go for them, right? It's like maybe the guys that are building on Luna, Terra Luna, or you're chatting with other Solana projects, right? So other than that, you're just looking for really talented guys, really talented developers that are quick learners and willing to pick up a new language, right?
Right. It's great. It's great. I'm just wondering, like, in terms of like developers, we talk a lot about developers, but like for the users, do you know if the users are more geographically scattered, or like is there any particular country that adopts Raydium and Solana more than others? Do you know if there's any data for that?
Right now, it points to them being all around the world, and so it's pretty. One of our favorite things to do is right when we're about to launch an IDO project, we can click in and view our analytics page and see, we see these different red pockets popping up. Usually, depending on the time of day, it might start from East Asia, and it'll be Japan, Korea, China, slowly move into Southeast Asia, and then kind of continue to push west. But like our major hotspots, obviously, the U.S. We've got Turkey's a big one, Vietnam, Indonesia, China, Brazil has recently really started to push on our platform, and then Japan, Korea as well. I think a couple of our obviously really hope to kind of continue to educate our Thai users, and excited to continue working with Hongwood throughout this process. and then India as well is kind of on our map.
Yeah, I think just to continue on that, like, I think you think about users in a couple different ways, and geographically in a few different ways. You have kind of like East Asia, kind of developed Asia, maybe, and the States, some of Europe that are, you know, a little bit more in tune with crypto, that have been, you know, there are more traders that are a little bit more experienced, or just have been in the game a little bit longer, because that's where a lot of things have popped up. And then Turkey has been kind of a surprising one for us, but maybe it shouldn't be, but it was for us, where like a huge amount of our users were from Turkey. And, you know, when we dove into it, we started reading about it. It's just the country itself, for whatever reason, whether it's the financial system or however things are, there's just a ton of people that are super into crypto in Turkey, which is fun to see. It's fun to see all these different countries pop up on your analytics page, and try to speculate as to why they're number 2 or 3 or number 1, and how they jump around. Another big group is kind of like, you know, our Southeast Asia users, Thailand for sure, Indonesia, Vietnam for sure. I think we're seeing like a ton of growth there. It's like potentially Solana specific, and, you know, don't know for sure, but just to speculate, like one of the reasons that we were excited about building on Solana was because of the fast transactions and because of the low gas fees, right? We did the whole DeFi summer thing last year, and we're running into crazy ETH fees. Well, everybody's still running into crazy ETH fees, but like, this is one of the reasons that we were excited to build on Solana, and that we thought that this is a chain that that basically everybody can afford to use, that you don't need to, and not just use for the sake of like doing one swap if you really want to buy some coin, right? Okay, maybe if an ETH fee is $50, that's a lot, but if you just want to get in and buy the coin, okay, maybe you can stomach that, right? But let's say, I mean, if you're using Raydium, what do? You go, you buy a coin, you take it, you add liquidity, there's another transaction. You stake your LPs, that's another transaction. Every time you harvest those coins, that's another transaction, right? Now, that's unsustainable on ETH for a lot of people, right? They can't really get involved in DeFi applications if they're having to pay those ETH gas fees every time they want to harvest, every time they want to swap, every time they want to do every one of those little things, right? So like, yeah, so markets like Southeast Asia, we see like a lot of users that are pretty excited about using Raydium, about, well, Solana in general, right? And not just Solana, but some of the newer, the EVM chains that are coming out. I mean, BSC, this is a huge reason why BSC has seen a lot of success as kind of one of the first big EVM chains to really tackle DeFi and allow a huge portion of the globe to really be able to participate in this. So this has been fun to see as well, right? And I think like, yeah, seeing our Thai users as well is like super fun. So we're excited about like our Thai community and getting everybody involved. We'd love to see like everybody, all the different countries, and everybody popping up in our Discord. We have like a different Discord channel for several different languages, and just to see all those there is like pretty exciting and fun, right?
Yeah, that's very impressive on how you try to engage, on how you try to build community. So I would like to ask, how do you engage building the process of the community? Like how you build from scratch, like how you find your customer, how you find your community, and how you process in the long term.
I think, you know, there's a couple of different ways we go about this, and some of it's through kind of targeted advertising or content creation. So working with influencers in different regions around the world. Another big part of it is doing AMAs like this. So once again, thank you all for, you know, introducing us to your community and all of your followers. But then, you know, another a part of it is, showing that we're dedicated to those users as well. And so, hiring community managers who speak different languages, who are based throughout the world, who are based in the same time zone as their users, who can help them answer questions. These are all, really important. And so, yeah, it's kind of a multi-pronged approach where we're constantly reevaluating, but then we also get feedback from, our RCMs, our community managers, who tell us, maybe we should do this. How can, suggesting different ways where we can build and support different languages in different regions.
That's right. Each culture is different as much as the cryptocurrency world is borderless and kind of just for everybody at the end of the day, different audiences would react to different things. So really good question. And thanks for the answer.
Yeah, I think a lot to digest there. I think I really like the point where you said, Southeast Asia developing economies are particularly interesting targets for you because of the cost, right? Because one thing that we saw was the I guess like the Axie Infinity craze in the Philippines coming out of nowhere. But actually, what really drove the adoption was like the launch of Ronin. Because initially everything was on Ethereum, it's very expensive. So it basically priced out a lot of people. When Ronin came, people started doing more and more transactions, and that really exploded into, mainstream. So yeah, I think I can totally see why, all these alternative, cheaper, transactions can really help include more people. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and just building off that a little bit, I mean, this is also kind of one of the fun reasons why we like Accelerator, or we like kind of our drop zone. I mean, Accelerator, like getting in at a public price or at a low price on some of these projects is like it's pretty tough to do. But for somebody who's kind of in a developing geography, like snagging a ticket to an IDO can be potentially life-changing, and kind of like set people on their way on their crypto journey. And we just think that's really cool, and to be able to offer that and try to provide those opportunities for people. It's part of what kind of, on top of building and on top of like driving the whole community and ecosystem forward, but like within the community across geographies, you see people talking about, they were farming on this pool and it did really well for them, or they got in on an IDO and they did really well. And like, just from a personal standpoint, that's like pretty cool, right? It's pretty cool to see that people have these opportunities, and it makes you want to work to like really make sure that the projects that we're offering are high quality, make sure that the platform itself is reliable, that people like using it, and kind of like just allow these opportunities to kind of filter out to our users. So yeah, that's kind of a personal point, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that we needed to cover from our friends from both communities? Because I'm just noticing
I
the
think,
time.
yeah. We covered a lot of ground here. I guess like what one of my questions would then be like, what is your vision for the project for the next 3 to 5 years, or even that's too long in crypto, but maybe
That's
like
really long.
that's really long. Let me rephrase that. I guess like, what would be like the vision, or like what would you consider a success for Raydium going forward, and also that for the project side of things, and also personally as well, like what motivates you, what gets you up to work in the morning, what gets you excited, and what do you wish for the for the project and for yourself, and what would you consider a success for yourself?
I guess I'll start. I think all these things are very much related, right? So I'll start from like, personally, I mean, every day when we get started, we're either talking with new projects, trying to solve some new issue that's come up with the platform, trying to build out a new feature, trying to improve and streamline something, right? Trying to make things better, trying to innovate something, trying to come up with something or a feature that's a little bit different that offers value for either for our users or for other projects or for the ecosystem as a whole, right? And I think as long as you are making those steps forward, right? So the focus is always forward, obviously, but like you can't sit back too long. And you have to kind of be aware of what's going on around you and incorporating the good ideas you see around you, talking to the smart people that are around you, talking to the people that are also leading projects alongside of Raydium. You know, it's not, we're not just in a cubicle like with a ton of great ideas all just by ourselves, right? Like we're talking to people that are doing amazing things, right? The Solana guys, the Serum guys, all the projects that we've talked to, like from the gaming side of things, Star Atlas guys, the borrow lending protocols, everybody's doing a ton of different things, and you gain a lot of information from talking with a lot of different people and what they're trying to do, and you get a lot of ideas, right? So as long as you're kind of like acting like a sponge and soaking all of this in and trying to convert that into something that's valuable for your users and for the space in general, I kind of think that like you can't really go wrong. And even if you do go wrong or there is a mistake made, you're learning from that and you're trying to improve it and rectify that, right? So 3 to 5 years is a long way off. I will say that like currently our emissions schedule, we talked about yield farming earlier, that our emissions schedule is initially slated to run out in about 3-ish years, could be a little bit longer than that. But essentially within that time, like we just need to build up our user base, build our community, make a product that like everybody wants to use, try to be just somewhere where everybody wants to trade, where everybody wants to do their swaps, where they're able to get in on new projects, and you know, continue with kind of like the key strategy that has kind of helped us so far is like help the other projects kind of around you, help the other users around you, and kind of like deliver value that way. You know, on a short-term scale, like the things that are going to get us there is really dialing down the AMM. We have like routing coming soon, potentially in the next couple of days. We've been working on this. It's a little bit more troublesome because you have to swap between or incorporate the order book, but you'll be able to swap between pools. We have stable swap coming out. We have the Magic Eden partnership that we're going to be working on. You know, we have a few more things in store, and we're always trying to think of like, you know, not only like helpful or like valuable features, but also like fun things that our community will appreciate. So like, I think that going forward, we're kind of like following this path, and we're going to see where it takes us. A little bit vague, but the future's a little vague at the same time. So yeah.
That's right.
I'll jump in here and keep mine short and sweet. So, you know, I love coming to work every day. And the first thing I do when I get in the office is I hop in Discord and look to see what our community is up to. And, you know, that kind of gets me going in the morning. But then another huge aspect of it is, you know, growth is contagious and, you know, it's really addicting. And so where do those two things come together? And I think it's kind of like, you know, how big can DeFi be? And what's the power behind it? And the power is, you know, it's the equalizer for everyone in the world in terms of, you know, a financial system that is, you know, run for them and, you know, run by them. And so, you know, like my long-term goal is to see, you know, 1 billion users on DeFi and really see this thing take off and see, you know, more equality in terms of, you know, wealth throughout the world. And really how that'll happen and what role we can play in that.
Oh, 100%. That's such a great answer and such a great wrap up to, I think, not just you guys, but like essentially why we're all here. Just providing more opportunities or playing our parts, tiny little dots in this new universe, if you may.
For sure.
Yeah, I love the answer. I think it's also something that I think about every day when I, wake up and go to work. It's that, we're building on a new technology, but, it requires everyone's collaboration to work together to reach this mass adoption. And it takes a lot of time and sweat to get there. But I'm glad that, we are all in this together and we just working toward the same goal. So thank you
Absolutely.
today. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
thank you for having us. It's been awesome fun.
Thank you so
It's been
much.
fun. For sure.
I mean, if people want to learn more, what's the best place to reach you? Is it Discord or is it how do they get in touch with you?
For the Thai, can the community see our chat here, or is the chat private? I would say
Yes.
the best way is probably to join the Thai Telegram group would be awesome, and then pop into Discord as well. We have a great community there. But Tong can help out and help with any questions that anyone has.
Yeah, for sure. I think like for the Thai community, the Telegram is there. If they're down to chat a little bit in English, the Discord, there's definitely a lot going on there as well. But for sure.
I will drop the Telegram channel in our post here.
Yeah. We usually hang around our Discord. So if they want to get in touch with us specifically or ask us a question, if there's anything that we didn't answer, the Discord is probably the best place to drop that, and we're around there fairly frequently, so we might see it and respond and chat. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much again on behalf of both Bitazza and our Thailand community. It's been great. It's always so cool to get to talk to the representatives from all these projects that we have on our platform. So thanks so much, and we let you guys go for today. And thank you everyone for watching, and we see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks a lot for having us.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.